So, in addition to the video that I've just recorded sort of outlining the Intuitive Rebirth Method, I wanted to give you some background on how I came into the Intuitive Rebirth Method and my background, talk a little bit about my process. So for the last probably 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, I've been on this healing journey. And I think a lot of times when we begin this type of work, we're called into sort of more traditional healing spaces, like yoga studios and meditation centers. And so I went down this route. I studied yoga, I started practicing meditation and joined women's groups, started getting into astrology, learning about my natal chart, and sort of progressing on this path that felt very mainstream and available. The first time I ever did yoga, it was at a YMCA, and it was like an abs class, and I was like, oh, yoga's not for me. And now in my life I have the richness of bhakti yoga, kirtan I really especially love, yin yoga. There's so many different, kundalini of course, there's so many different forms of yoga that are available, and yeah, so that's where my journey began. And as I worked through these elements, as soon as you get quiet, whether it's in a YMCA abs class or a meditation video online, guided meditation, this is where the work really begins. So my internal space started to open up and unfold, and I worked into some different modalities like kundalini yoga, and then I started getting into somatics, and so that is deep work in the body. And then I started to become very interested in trauma healing. That's the part of the journey that I was on. I spent a couple of years there. And then I got really interested in breath work. And this is where I started to really see some profound shifts and changes happening. And I think that's, I had been in talk therapy for years, and I think breath work really broke open that shell. I went to a healing retreat that was mostly based in Chinese medicine and acupuncture. I went to a healing retreat last year in November and really had some just really transcendental experiences. And then it got real, right? It got real then, because I started to have these out-of-body experiences, and all of the fears related to stepping deeper into my truth as a healer, as a medicine woman, as a channel, an oracle, a priestess, divine conduit, all of my fears around stepping into that identity and claiming that power came to the surface. And so even before then it did, because I wanted to get certified in Reiki a year before November, and I had so much work to do before I could even really step into the world of Reiki, which now looking back, it's so it's so different from the Intuitive Rebirth Method, but even Reiki I had a lot of resistance to. So I spent probably the last year, 2 years now, really getting intentional around my identity as a healer, as a medicine woman, what my gifts were, what the gifts are that I've always known since I was a child, what these gifts were and how I was going to use them, and how I was going to bring this deep love in my heart out into the world. So I went to this healing retreat in November, had some existential experiences, and then while I was waiting for the next step to come in, I was already actively connected to my guides. I was already very intuitive, using cards, and I asked for the next step to be shown. And then I found Rhiannon's work. And as soon as I saw the video on Instagram of, she had testimonials from a retreat, from practitioner training, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, that is it. I knew it. Full body yes. I was so relieved, friends, because I had been searching for what the next step was for such a long time. And I immediately signed up for the practitioner training. It was a 10-week online program, and I was like, yes, this is it. I felt so relieved and grateful that I had a path forward. And when I signed up for the online practitioner training, the 10-week course, there was an opportunity to book in with Rhiannon for a one-on-one session, and so I did, and it was kind of a lot of money for me at the time, and I just knew that I needed to do it, and I knew I needed to do this 10-week course. So as soon as I got into the 10-week course, I saw that there was an in-person level 2 facilitator training in Bali in January, in like 2 months. And friends, I knew I needed to be there. I knew that I needed to be there. As unrealistic, as impractical, as it seemed financially impossible, I had just paid for this 10-week container. I hadn't even met Rhiannon. And friends, I knew that I needed to be at this retreat. I'd never been to Bali. I'd never been anywhere in Asia. I'd never been past Europe. And I knew I needed to be there. So I emailed Rhiannon's team and I was like, hey, I just booked the 10-week container, but I know I need to be at this level 2. Like how can that work? And everything was settled. The team helped me set up everything. And then before I left to do the practitioner training, I met with Rhiannon one-on-one. And there's not a way to describe this work if you have not been part of it. And I will do my best, friends. I will do my best. Rhiannon, she knew exactly where the pain, the hook was. And I had felt it too. It was sort of behind my heart, in the back. I always felt like energetically there was a blockage there. She guided me into it, and then the world broke open. The world broke open. And she was channeling light language, which I had never heard before, but I knew it. And the session was so powerful. You know, she saw the most vulnerable parts of me instantly, the places that really needed to be lifted, and she did it with such grace and such love. And at the end of the session, I was like, Rhiannon, what is that language you were speaking? Like, I know that language, what is it? She's like, oh, I don't know, I'm a channel. Like, I just called that in, I brought that in for you, that was for you. That's what being a channel is. I just brought that into the space, it was for you. And then I spent the next couple of months trying to understand why all of a sudden I was speaking this other language, my light language, fully activated in that session with Rhiannon. And I got to see for the first time a real, true separation between Jacqueline in this physical body as a human being and my soul as unconditional divine love. And I kept like pulling at my body, like my skin, while I was in this session with Rhiannon, because my brain was holding this truth that I am Jacqueline in my body, and I am also a timeless divine aspect of a greater consciousness of God. And ever since then, friends, I have been dealing with all of the things that come up in our ego once we recognize that we are divine conduits of love and that we are here on this planet to do a job. And that some of us are here on this planet to do a job that involves being a guide for others to step into their truest, most authentic divine love. And then when I went to Bali, the retreat space was incredible. It was incredible. There was hands-on healing each other from the first day. And the beauty is that there is nothing to be taught. There is nothing to be taught. She just creates a space where the person that I have always been, lifetime after lifetime, who my soul is, what my soul knows, she just created a space for my soul, this super powerful, intuitive, shamanic energy healer, to step into that space as that person instead of stepping into the space as Jacqueline in this body. Profound healing took place there. There were such incredible healers in that space. The frequency was so pure, so divine. Everything that is not love shatters in that space. And that was the intention that I spoke into on our opening day. I wanted to bring such divine love forward that nothing else could survive. This is the medicine that my heart has been trying to share with the world my entire life. and all of the trauma and the emotional healing and the somatic work, all of that, the escapism. I was an alcoholic, like all of that, as I worked through that over the years, all of that was because I was not living in alignment with what this truth is now that I know in my heart. This truth that I know in my heart, that I came in this body at this time to be a conduit for this love, for this unconditional divine love. And this is the thing that I needed, friends. This is not just the medicine that I have, but it's the medicine that I needed. And that's what I found in that space, in the Intuitive Rebirth space. And so it's been 8 months since that practitioner training, and I have spent these last 8 months really coming to terms with the integrity that's needed to hold this power, what being a safe space means as a space holder, doing a lot of shadow work around my own trauma and wounding, so that there's not an opportunity for the sessions to be colored by any of that. So really working to step into a space where this authentic frequency, that is my frequency, is divine love. And anything that I call in is higher than that. You know, it's elevated me to such a place that, you know, I bring myself to tears regularly, routinely, when I call in this big love. And I just know that this is the work that I'm meant to do, and I know that there are so many men and women at this time who need this medicine. We can look around, we can look at the world around us and see where so many people have not had connection to that source consciousness of unconditional love. And it's what the work is, it's what the work does. You know, everything, all of our fears, our insecurities, trauma, you know, all of these things are just spaces and places where we're waiting to bring love in. And so this is the work, this is the Intuitive Rebirth work, and I'm so excited to really start to offer it now that I've had a chance to integrate the teachings and finish, you know, the 10-week course online. And I just feel really capable and really excited to help you work through this next chapter in your healing journey. So many of us have tried so many different modalities and therapy and just without the results that we were looking for. And for me, I always knew there was something more. And so I just am really excited to share this work with you. And thank you so much for listening to my story. Love you guys.